is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Look who it is. After this has been 3 weeks since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a long time, Paul.
It's been a long time.
Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I miss you when I don't get to see you. We worked together for several years, and then we didn't. And I tell you, I
think it made our relationship stronger. You know, I talked to my wife the other day because she went on a trip recently. Not really a trip. She was helping her parents with something, but she was gone for 3 or 4 days. And she came back, and she seemed to like me a lot more. And I just mentioned, I feel like you like me the most when we are apart from one another, like in a good way. You know, it's just like you don't hear somebody's breathing as much. It's just good to have a little space every once in a while.
I saw my wife for 2 full days in 2 weeks because she went on a cruise with her parents, came back, was home for 2 days. Then I left to go to New Orleans. And I've never been so excited. We've never been so excited to see each other. Now, part of the reason she was excited to see me is she spent the entire week sick as a dog.
Oh, no.
And, so you can't socialize. You can't see anybody. You can't, all the things that you're going to be like, you know what, I will go to lunch with my friend because Paul's not here. Or, I will go see this or I'll do that. You can't do any of them because you've got a fever and you can't go outside. So she was, emotionally overwhelmed.
Oh, she wasn't, seasick on the cruise?
No, she got, she caught the crud that going around.
Okay, good. I thought you meant, she got on the boat and got sick.
No, she had a good time on the cruise and then came back and
got sick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's still not good, but better than what I was thinking.
Yeah. So, so she got back and got sick. Had to sit. She was sitting at the Kansas-Baylor game, getting sicker the whole time. Basically her
because of the comeback
symptoms. Yeah. Her symptoms worsened as as Kansas, she, I thought, is she emotionally tied to this in a way,
they're taking the life force out of her?
Yeah.
With every missed 3?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. And so to have to, and then her brother is here. And so his fiance didn't come this time. And I didn't want to, I know there was a little bit of tension about, her not coming and all this stuff. So I didn't want to kick the hornet's nest for him if there was still, something bubbling under the surface, like a fight that he didn't need to get in anymore.
Uh-huh.
But I did text my mother-in-law and I said, I have 2 of them in the house. Pray for me. One of them is angry and sick, and the other one's just angry that every time he's come down here, he's watched them lose. As a matter of fact, walking out of Foster Pavilion, he said, I don't think I'm going to do this again. I can't come down here and watch the Jayhawks lose. And in every time in some sort of spectacular fashion. Last year it was Yves Missi just destroyed them.
Right.
And this year it was dominated for 70% of the game. And then just did a 180 and let Baylor
just go
run roughshod. So yeah, it was a rough couple of days.
Well, I'm glad you look good, Paul. I'm glad you survived New Orleans. I know last time you went, it was fun, but also kind of a rough experience at times. But it sounds like this was just good food and a good time, hanging out at Super Bowl Radio Row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. So
do they still call it Radio Row, or do they call it
it's Media Row?
Media Row. Okay.
Media Row. Because again, there's actually less radio stations than other things.
Yeah.
So it is wild when you do walk up on one that is just my friends in Albany, Tom and Gaz. They're just doing a straight up and down radio setup, and they were also. I can expose this now because it's over. There were some people who did not get a table this year that normally do. And so, because you've already budgeted and planned it, Tyler, Texas decided not to go, but they could have fought a little harder. There were 3 tables around us that just were empty, So what Tom and Gaz knew is that we'll find an empty table and then we'll deal with it as it comes. So they did a little guerrilla warfare for the week. The only thing they didn't have was a line, so they had to record everything on a recorder and then go upstairs so they could send it but they're just doing audio. So you can do, like, if you just want to do audio and record and make sure your show sounds live, but it's not live, you could easily do that from Radio Row and then go upstairs where the Wi-Fi is better and send it off to your producer, which, you've experienced that of us, just sending file after file after file after file.
Here's 95 interviews.
Yeah.
Just be ready to use some of them at any time.
Yeah.
Which, that's what you do. Like, everybody's there. So.
And, it's hard. Like, here's the thing. That's hard prep for the producer, but it's easy show.
Yes,
because
it is.
All you have to do is we got a 22-minute interview with Darren Woodson.
Hit a button.
Hit a button, and then eat a sandwich. That's what you're doing. Now, all the time before that, where you have to load the files in, that takes a while, But
one thing I noticed too, listening to you guys and then other people that were there, because it's different now, because it's Media Row and there's so many digital outlets. Folks will be like, it'll just be walking around and people will just stick a phone in your face and be like, hey, would you rather have no arms or no legs? And you don't know, you don't know where it's going. Yeah. You don't know what's going on. Did you get any of that? Just walking around and people being like, hey, we need to talk to you about something.
Nobody cares who I am. Okay. So that's good. And the thing is that they're now, if there was somebody there, there was a couple guys who came over to our booth and were like, hey, what do you guys oh, I don't know if you've heard of me. I do this social thing. And I knowing that was what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. Not that I care. And I'm a comedian. I don't care. But I don't have time to go into all that. So I just was oh, cool. Good for you, man. I'll give you a follow. And I would literally, I'd be there we go. We're following now. Just also, I want to make sure I want to be on it because I don't want it to be asking me a question, be like, oh yeah, guess what? You're on chocolate pudding throw. And they just throw pudding on me. And I'm wait, oh, well, you followed, you obviously didn't watch, gotcha, Yep. Yeah. So I don't, that's one of the weird things about Radio Row. You never know what you're going to see. Right. All these things. Now it's not like media night, which is absolutely nuts. And we can't even go because it's during the show, really, when you have to go out there. So I don't even go. It's kind of a pain in the ass anyway. But when, but it is, there's a lot of, walking around. But so the thing you can do is if you're just someone like me, you can, oh, Bert Kreischer's right there. They'll go to him. They're not going to go to me.
Sure.
They're, they'll walk up to Cam Newton, But I'm dying to interview Cam Newton for one reason.
Ask him about those hats he's wearing?
All of the whole ensemble.
Why he dresses like a carnival barker?
Yeah, I don't, he's... See, Russell Westbrook, it always bothered me that he was, fashion first before winning. I mean, he was, I didn't like I guess I got mad at the fake glasses trend because there's those of us out here who need these stupid things.
You're taking inventory from those of us that need to see.
But he's just oh, yeah, I know that you got made fun of when you were 11 for your glasses, but I'm going to wear more ridiculous ones on stage and then get laid after. It's just not fair. It's just not right. And so I thought, that was kind of a stupid thing.
And some of us can't, just to be honest, we can't pull off the open blouse with no shirt. Just the trend of I'm wearing a jacket shirtless. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no. So, but but everything that Russell Westbrook wore, except for maybe colors, which are, again, that's your own. But he would wear a suit. It was just
cut off or something.
Yeah, it was just, but it was a suit. He was wearing a suit. It was just had a weird pattern, or it was orange or whatever, or everything he wore was a normal thing that human beings wear. He's wearing a literal lorry cap, like the British police officers. Nobody else is going man, I gotta give me a lorry cap. So he's his own fashion. He's not starting trends because a trend would mean that other people do it. So a bonnet, which he did the bonnet thing for a while. The lorry hat that he's wearing right now, whatever is going on with this, with a scarf and, all this stuff. Nobody else dresses like that. Literally no one. Not even drag queens. None of them. Nobody is doing that. And I have to know, here's what I look at Cam. He's a fashion forward 3-year-old that you really just need to get out of the house and go to the grocery store, but you can't get him dressed because the only thing he wants to wear is his Halloween costume.
Yeah, I deal with this on an almost daily basis.
So
my son wants to wear a Spider-Man costume every day.
So you have gone to, like, look, I'm going out for an hour. We're going to go to the grocery store, and we're going to pick up a pizza. And guess what? Little tiny Spider-Man's coming with me because I don't want to waste any more time doing this.
Right, I can't fight this right now.
Yeah, okay, he doesn't want to go to the dentist. I've got to take him to the dentist. The appointment's at 7:30 or, whatever. He doesn't want to take the Spider-Man costume off. Guess what? Spider-Man's getting his teeth cleaned.
Yep. And our Christmas picture this year, 3 kids with Christmas shirts on, 1 Spider-Man. You know what? You just live with it. But that's age appropriate.
But
obviously.
he's 3.
He's 3.
But here, the thing is, I think Cam Newton has taken that to no, I'm going to wear this.
It is amazing how much I think to be a great athlete, you have to just be irrationally confident. And I would assume that it carries over. You guys can stop me here. I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to have a take. I think Cam's season at Auburn, in my opinion, I know you can put Burrow up there too, Johnny Manziel. I think that's the best individual season by a college player ever. Because that Auburn team, I mean, they were good. They weren't like great.
Well, they had him and they had a badass defensive line.
Yes, they had a really great defensive line. But, I mean, he kind of willed that team to a national championship. But anyway, he was that dude. And then in Carolina, I mean, for a while, he was that kind of player too, like won an MVP. But he had the New England stint that didn't work. Like, he had a downturn in his career. The Super Bowl was a mess. They lose that game to the Broncos. And you would think that would kind of humble him a little bit. He also got beat up at like a youth football tournament a year ago, which was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But he's just pivoted to he's wearing weird outfits. He did that podcast where it was basically like his therapy sessions, but he just recorded it. Like he would just talk to people about his commitment issues.
He had a pretty cool setup there in Media Row.
Yeah, he's on First Take now. He's he's doing the debate world.
Yeah.
So his career is very interesting to me.
Yeah. To see Stephen A. Smith yelling at a guy just dressed like that. Like, if you wanted to pull the veil off of what that show is.
It looks like he's at a murder mystery party.
Yeah. Yeah. And Stephen, come on, Cam. What you talking about? No way Darko Milicic is going to be any kind of player. Now, I will let you adjust your scarf and respond. Like, it's just.
It's insane. Does Stephen A. have an entourage?
Yes.
No,
they followed him everywhere there, dude. But when he was walking through, he had a whole crew with him.
Does he have bodyguards and stuff?
I didn't see bodyguards.
But there's like ladies and makeup and all that stuff. Like he goes. Yeah, he was. He went on Hannity the night before and then did a run through Radio Row, which, like, him and Sean Hannity yelling at each other. Like, if you guys don't understand what's wrong with America and the both sides of our political argument and need to, like, and are still in the weeds, just go watch 90 seconds of Stephen A. Smith and Sean Hannity trying to have a conversation and realize, like, oh, no, we're all wrong. None of us have this right. None of us have this right.
He's going to run for president, right? There's murmurs about that, Stephen A.
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going on Hannity to, like,
promote
dip that toe in the water and see if people would. And, I mean, no. So
he was on Levitard one time, and it was when the 30 for 30 came out. Ezra Edelman did the OJ doc, it was basically a mini series. I mean, it's like 10 hours, but so there was a bunch of talk about that. I think that was also
I love the OJ doc. Yeah.
Yes, I think that was also the time when FX did their series too with Travolta and everybody. So it was a big topic of conversation, and Stephen A. was talking about that case, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, if I was the prosecutor back then, I would have won that case." It was such a weird prediction of his own, I guess, legal abilities he would just I would win this.
Sports writer. That's what he was.
Yeah,
sports writer.
Sports writers turned into gas bag, and he's really good at it. I will say, people roll their eyes. It's not an easy job, and he does it better than just about anybody. It's not the way I want to consume sports television. It's not the way I'd want to do it, but he does it well. Anyway, it was just I always remember that. Just what a weird prediction and declaration he made about that particular moment in history.
Yeah. No, it's very – I've interviewed him one time. We had him on one time. And he was so friendly and nice. I was like, oh, okay. But then I just
– He's just misunderstood, you know?
But then, like, I've seen him since then. And, like, that was right before he popped. It was when he was just kind of an entertaining talking head. Like, he didn't have a show necessarily. Like, it wasn't – he hadn't also brought Skip Bayless up out of the muck and decided I'm gonna like if there's an evil version of me, I need to find it. And it was
we'll go toe to toe.
Yeah, Skip Bayless. Also, were you here when I talked about like when Skip got this whole lawsuit that all these people at Fox are embroiled in? You know, Joy.
No,
Taylor,
we haven't talked about the Fox lawsuit.
So there's this guy has he's about to rack him up like Weinstein, but like so anyway, Stephen A. Smith commented about it, and he's like, there's no way Skip Bayless is going to pay somebody $1 million for sex. He's like the Skip Bayless I know wouldn't spend 10 cents on coffee, and I was like, well, Stephen, he doesn't want to have sex with you. Like, it's not like the reason that Skip never offered you $1 million to do anything is because he does not want to sleep with you. So that's like the weirdest way I've ever heard. Like, there's no way because everyone wants to pay $1 million to sleep with me. Like, no.
That is a weird.
The only thing I've seen from him all week that's got all around Twitter is how he'd be like, listen, if my wife was out there crip walking about her ex, that's not going to happen in my house. And be like, well, dude, you're not married to Serena. She can do what she wants. Yeah. Like she's like the greatest female athlete of all time. Mm-hmm. And her husband, I'm sure, is like, yeah, do whatever you want. You want to go take a crap on Drake? I'm all right.
2 thumbs up.
All right. That means we're going to get free Kendrick tickets for life. Let's go. I mean, did the guy like realize that like he married Serena Williams? Like, would he like, what? You dated Drake? What did you do before we got together? I know that like you were a tennis player of some minor note. Mm-hmm. Not the greatest tennis player. Like, oh, you were the greatest tennis player who's ever lived? Oh. They made a movie about your dad and Will Smith was in it? He won an Oscar for that right after he slapped a guy?
Slapped Chris Rock.
This is all new information. I was just marrying
I've just been coding.
I've just been here like, wow, this is new information. Well, I mean, I guess you got to go. I mean, it kind of bothers me that you dated Drake.
I knew who he was because he invented Reddit, I believe. Like, that's his claim to fame. So I knew that. But I saw a picture of him next to Serena this week, and I thought, okay, yeah, I get that now. I mean, not that I didn't get it before, but I saw them together, and I said, okay, she can do whatever she wants.
Yeah. So. I mean, trust. Trust in a marriage.
That's right. That's what you have to have it.
Yeah. You know what? Like, go out there and while he's wearing an A minor necklace and go up there and dance around.
Yeah, what you do in your private life is your business.
There we go. I mean, so, but yeah, it's like, it's a very wild time. I hate that you've never been able to go. And I hope that maybe I can figure out a way to get you there someday because Emery's been to 2 now. Garrett's been to 3. And it's a very unique experience because there are conventions in what we do. Like, you can go to a sports media convention. And Colin Cowherd or, Dan Patrick, who I've met a couple times. I would talk to Dan Patrick all day long. Cowherd I've met a few times. I talk to Dan Patrick all day long. But, they get up and give a talk about the state of the industry and things, and it could be interesting. Or you could just immerse yourself in the creative production of it that's all around you and learn things that you don't leave. Half the stuff that I've learned about what we don't do or what we need to do or need to try to do comes from our trips to Radio Row every year.
Right, yeah.
So it's like a convention where you want, if you worked in the technology industry and you find out like, oh, hey, AI can do this for you. This is finding out like, oh, like that, like we have a stand-up banner now. We have, a lot of cool stuff that we do because we now realize that we can,
Sure, yeah.
We'd never done it before. We'd never seen those things. And to see it in practice is a lot better than to, be in an auditorium, with guys up there pontificating,
For sure.
So
no, it always looks like a really cool experience, and it's just getting bigger every year. It seems like.
Yeah, it is. It's getting a lot bigger. So, yeah. No, my goal now is for us to grow to enough to where we can be on the outside. Like that's the goal. It's going to take some time, but the inside of Radio Row, and there's some big people like Cam's on the inside of Radio Row. Mm-hmm. There's big people on the inside, but where you want to be is on the outside, because when you're on the outside of the bullpen, when you're there, they just bring you people. Like they're just like, hey, do you want to have Robert De Niro? He's here, and you're like, I mean, sure, yeah,
of course.
I've never seen Robert De Niro there, but I'm just
I could think of a few questions.
Yeah. I would pick like the most like I wouldn't ask anything about like Goodfellas or whatever. I've been like, so tell me about Dirty Grandpa.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah. That Aubrey Plaza movie. Yeah. Tell me about that one. What was that like?
Let's get it. Where did you find, you found a lot of characters in your day. Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver, young Vito Corleone in Godfather 2. I would say that Dirty Grandpa had to be probably the biggest challenge.
Yes.
So,
what was your research? Did you shadow Bill Belichick for a week?
By the way, a funny story about Robert De Niro I heard. So he did a movie called The Score with Edward Norton and Marlon Brando. And Edward Norton is a method actor. Marlon Brando was a method actor, but at this point in his life, he's crazy. And Robert De Niro is just an actor. Like, he doesn't, if
he just does the character and goes home.
Well, yeah. When in Bronx Tale, he played a bus driver. He didn't, ride the bus all day going, so, tell me about when they pull the chain. The thing. He didn't do that. So, he just, he does his research, but he's not, going around doing that stuff. So, Edward Norton had to, back off the method acting a little bit because of that. But there was a scene, and Edward Norton told the story. He's like, I thought that young Vito was going to kill old Vito Corleone, Don Corleone, because the thing was supposed to be $50 million. And Marlon Brando just didn't think that his character would say dollars. So he's like, 50 million clams, 50 million tomatoes, 50 million, he just kept changing the nomenclature for dollars. And then De Niro's like, can you just say dollars one time? We just need one take where you say dollars, and they lost it. So that's probably one of the reasons I like Robert De Niro is he just doesn't care for method actors.
Yeah, he just does his job.
Yeah.
Like a normal person.
Yeah. And if you're wondering if you don't know what a method actor is, if you saw the Dun Kings commercial with Jeremy Strong from Succession, he is the it boy method actor. Mm-hmm. So him finding
himself in the coffee grounds.
Yeah, in the coffee grounds. It was very self-aware. It was very funny. I'm sure they paid him a lot of money to do it.
Yes.
So, anyway, when we come back, before we get to the wheel, we're going to talk about two things. We'll see if we can get the Cowboys offseason in. I don't know if we can, because we've got to get the wheel in before the end of the show. But Craig did this the other day on our show, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it just not only as a host of the show, but as a viewer of sports rants. It was very well thought out. You could tell he finally had his emotions in place. But I would like to know your thoughts about the worst trade in the history of sports.
Let's do it.
Yeah, which is the Luka Doncic trade. You are as big of a Mavs fan as I know, and that is true now because one of the other biggest Mavs fans I knew was Craig Smoke, and he has
departed.
He's no longer a Mavs fan.
Yeah, I'm teetering. I think I'm going to stick around, but I've never been this close to just ejecting.
Yeah, it was. There's so many facets to it. So, Steven talks himself into or out of being a Mavs fan anymore. Next, this is the triple option.
Some huge news. We have officially found the unlock to optimizing performance for young athletes. Now, for the past 15 years, I've been training quarterbacks, tons of camps, tons of college and NFL players. But for the last 3 years, my team and I have been on a mission to solve the questions that I was getting about what should young athletes, in particular athletes with developing bodies, what should they be consuming? I came to the conclusion that I think nutrition is actually the #1 opportunity as an athlete that you have to make an impact on all the work that you're putting in. Speaking directly to the parents, this is probably the #1 opportunity you have to make a huge impact on all the work and effort and resources that you've been putting in to give your young athlete an opportunity to chase their dreams. We've created Thread Performance to solve that problem. We're launching this summer with a suite of products that are absolutely going to change the game for your development. This is just the beginning of our mission to revolutionize sports nutrition specifically for young athletes. Give @Thread Performance a follow. The link in the bio, there's an opportunity to sign up for the waiting list and be the first to grab yours.
I've gotten a lot of questions as to where people can find the best supplements, because not all supplements are created equal. We know this.
There's so much information out there now, and you can go search online and get a variety of information that clashes, that doesn't even match up. And that's why we have the Swell Score, because we have created this platform where our team of researchers and doctors have come together to bring top-notch quality supplements and information.
So we make sure that if we are recommending a product, that it hasn't been reviewed by the same company that is producing that product.
This is a one-stop shop where people can go get evidence-based approaches that they can trust from experts that are top-notch. I think it's time to start living longer and better, and I tell my patients it's never too late to do that. Now we have a resource that we can do that.
Revive Superfood Smoothies. Peel, blend, and enjoy. Fast and easy, and I'm out the door.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina, Stephen Simcox, locked on Horned Frogs. And Stephen, it's now been over a week. It's been 10 days. Mm-hmm. And I got up in the morning before we left to go to New Orleans, and I'm looking at my phone, and I saw Luka Doncic traded to Lakers, and I thought it was like one of those ESPN articles that like the wildest things that could happen at the trade deadline kind of a thing,
or a fake account or something.
Yeah. And then I clicked on it. I was like, oh no, this is actually Shams, and it's actually true. And then I thought, like, oh, man, like, the Mavericks must have just decided that last year was kind of a fluke or something like that, or there's things coming around. They don't want to sign a player to a Supermax. Like, they've made a Mookie Betts decision. And they're going to trade him and then just get back a haul from the Lakers, who are trying to make a push with LeBron. And it's like, all right, so who did they send? And it's like they got back Anthony Davis and Max Christie and no draft picks, really, of note.
No pick swaps.
No pick swaps. None of that stuff. And then I was like, what? And so then I start reading about his conditioning. I'm like, well, was he like eating ice cream during practice or something? Like just shooting threes and like, you know, like popping the Cheetos in there? Mm-hmm. No, I mean, like, you know, it looks about the way Luka has been. And so then I knew that the Mavs world would explode. On Monday, we finally, after not seeing Craig for a week, which he needed that week, he did not want to talk about it with us. We had to change group threads, which actually made sense anyway because he wasn't at the Super Bowl.
Right, but still.
But we had to change it just for that so that we could talk about it in the ramp up to our show on Monday because we were going to have to talk about it on Monday. And so I'm curious, and feel free to be as emotional as you like. And I know how you get about SMU. I would think that this tops even that rivalry.
One thing that's happened in my life in the last few years, I go to bed early and I wake up early.
Yeah.
So I woke up at 4:30 on that Sunday morning, and I saw that this is not like a braggadocious thing. I'm just telling you. I had 35 text messages, and I thought something had happened to a family member. And then I looked and I saw it was much worse. I saw Luka get traded. That was like the first thing that processed in my mind. Mm-hmm. And I thought, is this a dream? I figured out that was real, and I thought, you know what? They traded Luka Doncic. Surely they got a great young player.
They tried to trade Dalton Connect the next day and didn't. He's not even in the trade, and he'd have been a full replacement.
The thing is, yeah, Luka Doncic, he comes in a little bit chubby every year. Every season, he comes in from the offseason. He's got to play himself into shape. And that's kind of annoying. The Mavericks have probably lost a few games early in the year in the last few seasons because Luka doesn't take his conditioning seriously. He's also a top 5 player in the league. He took you to the finals last year. They beat a very, very good Oklahoma City Thunder team. Sorry, Emery. They punked the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were like the hot, trendy pick. Ant Edwards was supposed to be the next Michael Jordan. They won that series because Luka was so good in clutch moments. And then they dealt him. And like Anthony Davis is not a bad player. But to come out and say, well, we're worried about conditioning. We're worried about availability. Then why would you get Anthony Davis? How is that your response?
He got hurt.
He got hurt in the first game. And he was playing great. He had 26 points, like 17 boards. And then he has a non-contact injury. And they were like, oh, it's not a big deal. Well, now he's out for weeks. So this season is completely tanked. And all the moves they've made, like Dallas was so lucky. They got Dirk Nowitzki. I believe they scouted Dirk and they thought he was going to be a good player. They had no idea he was going to be a franchise cornerstone for 2 decades.
Yeah.
They immediately, the year that Luka was drafted, DeAndre Ayton was the top prospect.
Yeah.
They didn't win the lottery. They were tanking. They were in tank mode. And there was, for years, the debate was like, man, who won? The Mavericks with Luka or the Hawks with Trae Young? Well, obviously, the Mavs won that, trade-off, right?
Yeah.
They ended up in the perfect spot at 3. They picked Luka Doncic. Our friend Andrew Baker, who is a goofy person, to his credit, he was one of the first people that was like, this dude's good. Like, he's really good. And there are all these stories about he played professional basketball since he's 14. He was really good on the Slovenian national team. He comes in and he takes over. And so all these decisions that they've made, they had Dennis Smith Jr. there when they drafted him. They said, bye, Dennis, you got to go. We found our guy.
Yeah.
Things came to a head with Rick Carlisle. They said, you know what, Rick? You want a title here? You're awesome. You got to go because this is our guy.
Yeah.
They traded for Kristaps Porzingis because they said, we need to get this guy more help. When him and Kristaps didn't get along, they sent Kristaps Porzingis packing because they said, this is our dude. Last year, they went and got Daniel Gafford and PJ and, they went and got Kyrie earlier than that. And they did it all to build around Luka Doncic. And then they just dealt him. And when I saw the news, I was like, okay, he obviously murdered somebody and it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be a story in 3 days from Tim McMahon about how Luka was a weirdo and he was making advances on staffers or something.
Or the locker room didn't like it.
Or there will be a story coming out about how he was, he hated Jason Kidd. He made himself a total jackass and everybody was turned against him. None of that is true. It seems like it's just Nico Harrison has a vendetta against this guy and he doesn't like him personally. I think the Adelson family is obviously just interested in making money and cutting cost. And so they sent him packing. And if you want to trade Luka Doncic, I think that on his own is a dumb decision. But then it's if you want to do that, there's a way you go about it. You leak it, you leak out to the press that you're trying to make a move. And then you say, hey, call me with your best offer. And you would have had 20 calls in the first 5 minutes from teams saying, oh, we'd give you this, we'd give you this, we'd give you this. Instead, now there are reports coming out that I guess they called the Bucks and they were like, Giannis for Luka, and the Bucks were like, no, thank you. And they called the T-Wolves and they were like, Ant for Luka, and the T-Wolves were like, no, we're good. But that was it, Paul. They didn't shop him around. They didn't see if the Kings would give them every player they have available and every pick available. Nico just made a deal with his buddy. He just got with Rob Pelinka and said, hey, I wanted to keep this quiet. Let's figure this out. It makes no sense. They said they're in win now mode. You're just in the finals with this guy. He's a win now player.
He's 24.
He's 24. And you know what? He's not the first 24-year-old that likes to eat donuts and fried chicken and drink beer in the offseason. You could have figured that out. If it was that much of a problem, go to that guy and be like, hey, we really need you to lock in. We're going to get you a nutritionist. We're going to get you a personal trainer.
That you like.
That can
speak to you on your level of what you need. Yeah.
We'll get a chef that makes every meal for you. And on Saturdays, if you want to eat gummy bears or whatever, you go for it, buddy. Yeah. But 5 or 6 days a week, we're going to have a very regimented plan so that you are in tip-top shape. Because we think if you took this seriously, you could become even better. Mm-hmm. But that's not what they did. They just decided to run away from it. And now Mark Cuban, who for years, I've always loved Mark. I thought he was very relatable. I thought he was, kind of the opposite of Jerry Jones in some ways. He understood the fans. He wanted them to be happy. He's like a dictator in the arena, kicking people out who were chanting Fire Nico, kicking people out who are booing the team. They're not booing the team. They're booing the fact that you gave away a franchise cornerstone, all due respect to Anthony Davis, for basically nothing. You went and signed Klay Thompson in the offseason. The only reason you did that was it was hey, Klay, you can come in here and you can just shoot. Luka's going to break people down off the dribble. He's going to pass it to you. You're going to shoot threes. Great. Oh, by the way, we're trading him 3 months later. Kyrie Irving suddenly likes basketball again after just spouting weird political views and conspiracy theories for 5 years. He's locked in and playing good ball again. And you just send Luka away. This team is going to completely bottom out in a couple of years. And it's been a long time. Even when the Mavericks were bad, at least at the tail end of Dirk's career, you had the appeal of having Dirk Nowitzki there and watching his career end out and maybe the possibility of getting lucky with a draft pick. And you did. It paid off. You got Luka Doncic. You could have paid for that Supermax over the next decade with just ticket sales and merch because the city loved him. I think he's the most popular athlete in DFW. And that's an area Paul, that's always going to be a Cowboys town.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a Cowboys town. But the Mavs had
he's more popular than anybody in the Cowboys.
Yes.
Than Micah Parsons. He's Micah Parsons' favorite athlete.
Right.
So the Micah Parsons, he's more popular than Corey Seager. He's more popular than anybody on the actual team that's won a title recently. Mm-hmm. The Rangers, he's more popular than that.
He carved out a market share. I was in Atlanta a few years ago visiting a friend, and the Hawks and Mavs were playing there. And so we went to Phillips Arena, and there were Doncic jerseys all over the place. And it was a combination of people that like him, Slovenian nationals who love him, and then just Dallas fans who were there too. He's a huge star. It makes no sense. Also, You just gave LeBron like a pass to play until he's 50 now because he's got a dude running with them who can take over a lot of, the job that he did. I've never been more confused by a decision, and nothing that has been said over the past week has made it any more bearable or made me stomach it anymore. Like, there's no logical reason to do this, and if they were going to do it, there was a way they should have done it where they could have gotten more in return, and they didn't. And again, Anthony Davis, not a bad player, but I have no motivation to watch the Dallas Mavericks right now. And they might end up as an 8 seed. They might end up in the play-in. It doesn't matter. It's hard for me to care. Jason Kidd didn't do his press conference after the Sacramento game the other night. Like, that's an organization in disarray, and it's all of their own doing because with no pressure and no indication that he wasn't going to be there long term, they just decided, you know what? We're done with you. It doesn't make any sense.
We had Chuck Cooperstein on Monday, and the first question I asked him was, Chuck, I know that the conditioning is part of it. Can you speak to that a little bit? Is it bad enough to where that's the thing you trade him, or is there some locker room stuff we're going to hear that where Luka wasn't? Because that was the thing that never made sense to me. Is he just a phony? Where he's one of those dudes like Phil Mickelson who outward facing, you're like, oh, hey, seems like a nice guy, and then if most of the golfers in the PGA could take a 9-iron to his ball sack, they would. I mean, they just would.
Yeah, they don't like him.
So they don't like Phil. They call him Fig Jam. So you know what Fig Jam is? If I'm good, just ask me. So I was waiting for a Fig Jam situation.
Right.
That's what I was waiting for. And Chuck's like, no, everyone loves him. He is everybody on the team's favorite player. If you asked them who your favorite player was, they would, his is LeBron, who they just gave him to, by the way.
Yeah.
But if you ask, Kyrie, who's your favorite NBA player, he'd be like, that guy. That's Daniel Gafford, him. They love him. He's everybody's buddy in the locker room. He gets along great. He does great things for the city of Dallas, like Dirk did. He and your the most legendary player in the history of your franchise. That's his big brother.
Mm-hmm.
You did that to Dirk.
Dirk went to his Lakers debut.
Yeah.
He was like, I got to get out there and support my guy. It's crazy. Yeah, it doesn't make – I thought about that too. Was he a locker room issue, but he wasn't? I mean, you didn't even have to deal with – with LeBron, obviously, he's the shadow GM in L.A. And Luka had his conflicts with people, and it did lead to some personnel decisions. But he was never, by all accounts, he was never in somebody's office demanding, hey, we got to make a move. Now, they did a lot of things to build around him, and then they moved him. It's like I said earlier. I kept thinking, the other shoe was going to drop and we were going to have some allegations against him of some sort. But there's not. It's just – it's an insane decision. And as much as I don't believe that Nico made it on his own, it does feel like the type of thing that he could do rogue, because if he said anything to anybody, I feel like they would have been like, no, that's stupid. Don't do that. And it would have been thwarted, but it wasn't. That crossover step back three hit against Gobert in the Western Conference Finals to put them up 2-0, that was an iconic moment. That was a huge moment in Mavericks history and Dallas sports history, and basically 6 months later, he's gone. It's just, it's crazy, man. I don't get it at all.
All right, it's time to party. Steven needs something, so Emery,
wheel it up.
Bring us the wheel.
All right, let me get my rankings out here.
And today, Steven, sometimes I spin the wheel, some days Steven spins the wheel. I feel like he needs a little clicky-clacky joy in his life.
I need to spin the wheel. So what we're doing today is we're ranking 1 through 12 coaches Paul would want to hang out with in the offseason.
Okay.
And I tried to do a mix of fun people, weird people, and some people I think you'll immediately be like, no, I don't want to hang out with that person. Sorry to Garrett, because I think he knows one of them pretty well.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, here we go.
All right.
Deion Sanders.
Oh, man. I don't think Deion is quite as fun as he used to be. For all the flash and all that stuff, I'm going to put him at and I love Deion Sanders. I mean,
he's a Florida State guy, yeah.
Florida State guy. We're from the same old town, North Fort Myers. I'm going to put him at 3.
Did you guys see Deion at Radio Row?
I did not.
I
saw Shadur and Travis. They were right behind us.
Oh,
Yeah,
Travis
right.
is doing like a show, right?
Yeah,
Both
so
of
was
them had
Shadur.
their show,
Yeah, both
yeah.
of them had a show.
I just saw him. I don't know who it was. Deion was interviewed by 2 young ladies, and one of them said that they like dark chocolate. And then Deion went in a time machine back to 1995 and was just like spitting game. And it was kind of uncomfortable. But everybody seemed to be in on it, so I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, here we go. Marcus Freeman.
Who? 2. I like Marcus Freeman. Honestly, he's got a cool factor to him.
He really does, yeah.
Although I will tell you this, he's got 5 or 6 kids. So I don't know how much time I'm going to have to hang out with Marcus.
That's true. He does have a lot of children.
A lot of kids. Steven, what is it you can probably count the times in a calendar year that you get to just go out with a buddy for an hour on your on one hand.
That's not often for sure.
If I just called you up one night when even if I knew, it's you know what, I know that he's in town and the wife and kids went to the in-laws. There's still a chance that one kid stayed behind.
Right.
I'd be like, hey, you want to go grab dinner and beer and something? You'd be like, I mean, normally yes, but
Yeah, I got to bring Bradley with me.
Yeah, one of the kids just decided to stay since I'm going tomorrow, and I was powerless to stop it. Probably happens to Marcus quite a bit.
I would think so. He seems like a very cool guy. I don't feel like I know a ton about him. I mean, obviously, on the media circuit during the national championship game, you learned about his story, which is really cool, but maybe he's got he obviously has to have a good personality, right? Because he's gotten the talent at Notre Dame that they haven't had in a long time. So I guess he's probably pretty gregarious in person. All right, 2 and 3 off the board.
Yeah.
Ryan Day.
10. Put him at 10. I don't think Ryan Day is going to be a very fun hang. I just don't. He seems like a lot.
Did your respect for him go up a lot through this national championship process?
That doesn't mean I'm not happy for him.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Here's the guy who's the best coach in the country who hadn't won anything. His record is stellar, and yet his own fan base is like, meh. We
could take him or leave him.
He's not
Mr. Personality.
Yeah, no, but he's not. Yeah, but they also still love Urban Meyer, and they don't care what Urban Meyer does to anyone else. So they're like, well, Urban won a title, one title there. And he was automatically on this pedestal above Ryan Day. And, the worst thing I can say about Ryan Day is probably not a good hang. The worst thing I can say about Urban Meyer is, I don't have enough time on the rest of this show. So let's, that's why I was like, look, he's actually been better, except for that one thing. He's been consistent and better in changing times that Urban didn't have to deal with, which if he had to deal with NIL for 1 second, he'd have another cluster headache and quit. So don't give me that crap. Enjoy what you have. Every other school in the country, save for maybe 3, would kill to have Ryan Day.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So, personality or no, no.
He's a great football coach. That's what matters.
But again, if you're talking about hanging out with him, I honestly think it'd be like, so, there's a new restaurant across town. He's like, yeah, but there's also, you in the Golden Corral? It's just more. It's kind of more my speed.
It's convenient.
Yeah, it's convenient. You can get whatever you want. There's not pressure. If I want pizza and mashed potatoes, I can do that. You're like, okay, I don't, I was going to take you out for a nice steak, Ryan. He's like, yeah, they got steak there.
It's okay.
They got steaks piled on top of steaks.
I know the guy at the meat cutting station. He's a good dude.
I'll tell him to give me a medium rare, and he'll bring it out.
Lane Kiffin.
Oh, that's number 1 right there. I think Lane would be a fun hang. Now you might need to okay, I've got to put an end to this now. This may not be healthy for the two of us, but yeah, I think Lane would be fun.
I would put him at 1-2. I will say I kind of got nauseated with the constant politicking for being in the playoff this year. That sort of took the shine off Lane a little bit for me, but I don't know. Did that sour you on Lane, Garrett?
It was annoying. He gets annoying. I love him, but he gets annoying.
I lost a little bit of my entertainment with him because it's okay, yes, I know that 2 of your losses were fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the third loss was not fine. That was actually your first loss.
Right.
You're forgetting about Kentucky. You were forgetting that you lost to one of the worst teams in the league, and you don't think there should be a punishment for that. That's the problem. It was so if you said, what about Kentucky? He's like, what about Kentucky?
Bluegrass State.
It's he's almost forgot it happened.
Yeah.
You played them and you lost. And he's like, I don't, that's what you say. That's what you say.
Define lose.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley.
9. I used to think Lincoln was way cooler. Then he posts this awful stuff he cooks non-ironically. It's not oh, look what I messed up.
Right. It's
good thing I know how to coach football.
Made some good brisket today.
Yeah. Or that ahi tuna he butchered.
Yeah.
What are you doing? He cut the brisket against the grain too. What are you doing?
I know. You talk about a fall from grace. It feels like we're a long way away from the Baker Kyler days where he was just the wonderkin that everybody wanted. Yeah. Did you guys see Rob Ryan's press conference though the other day?
Yeah.
Where he was just he looked
about Maui and
yeah, he's talking about Maui. Did you not see this, Garrett?
No, I didn't see this one.
He had media availability, and it looked like he had just taken 2 gummies, and they just put him up there to do a presser. He was just reminiscing about old players.
No, I've actually gotten to hang out with Rob Ryan one time in San Antonio with Tim McMahon, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
We were all in this bar that Randy Galloway liked to go to. So Tim McMahon was there, and Rob Ryan came in, and I just sat there at the bar and listened to Rob Ryan tell stories. It's awesome. You want to talk about Lane Kiffin get out, the Ryan brothers, same time? Dude, dream. Absolute dream to hang out with Rex and Rob. Absolute dream.
I love it.
They're hilarious.
Jeff Traylor.
Ooh, let's put Jeff at 4. I like Jeff a lot. I know him a little bit, so I actually he's a very serious coach, but I have a feeling that if you were just going to go to his house and have a barbecue, you'd have a good time. Kick back in the pool, a couple cold ones. He seems like that kind of that's how you would relax. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a very down to earth person. How long do you think he'll be at UTSA? He's been there a while now.
I think a couple more years. I think he's got to have another good season.
Yeah, he needs to pull off a couple of good wins.
Yeah, but he's got to have a big if he has a big win over a P4 team, which I think is coming. He'll figure his way into that. Then he'll get the juice, and it just depends on what jobs are open. I thought he would have been a shoo-in for the A&M job a couple years ago, but then Elko made more sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for example, if TCU gets tired of Sonny Dykes and Jeff Traylor's rolling, that's a guy I see fitting in well there. Arkansas is one I'm keeping my eye on because I think because he owns East Texas. So right. Arkansas would be crazy not to at least consider it. So,
all right, we'll bounce around a little bit here. Brian Kelly.
12. No, and even we'd be in Baton Rouge, which is full of Cajun food. I would be you know what? I don't want to go. He would be the coach most likely to get that random cancelization. Hey man, I'm just not.
I'm not feeling it today.
I'm not feeling good. I got a headache. My wife's all, I would be, yeah.
Garrett, would you hang with him just to ask him LSU questions?
I'd push him off a P-row into the swamp. That's about what I'd do.
All right, so we got 5 through 8 open and number 11 open.
Okay.
Kirby Smart.
9. 8.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it'd be fun. I mean,
Doesn't
he
seem
would.
like it'd be
He'd be
fun.
interesting, but
It'd be interesting, but it doesn't seem like it would be fun. Like he spent like all he knows is football. Like if you're like, hey man,
what shows are you watching?
yeah, like have you seen The Sopranos? He'd be like, I don't have time for that. Recruiting. Like, I mean, like you never had time. Like even back when it was on and you weren't a coach. Like, nah, just footballing, man. Like
Life mapping.
yeah, like hey, who's your favorite Office character? He's like, it's shows for wimps. You're like, okay, all right, well. I don't really he's the one like I don't really watch things.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Mike Gundy.
7. As much as he might seem fun, like I've seen the man like in action in the public. He doesn't seem that sociable. Like maybe he would be, but like he just doesn't seem like
Oh,
a
you
guy.
think like in a real environment he'd actually be pretty quiet and reserved?
Yeah, I mean he's not like look, he comes to Big 12 Media Days. He does Oklahoma City. He does National, and he does
Robert Allen.
And maybe if there's another Stillwater guy that like any Oklahoma State people that are like Oklahoma State, like went to Oklahoma State, that's who he talks to. He doesn't talk to us. He doesn't talk to anybody. He doesn't go talk to Dallas Station, Austin, like nowhere. Doesn't do it. So it leads me to believe that he's not he's probably just not a great conversationalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got 5, 6, and 11 left.
Okay.
Dave Aranda.
Oh, Dave's 5. I like if I knew he was on this list, I might have ranked him higher. And I mean, we've hung out with Dave Aranda, so I can tell you he's like you can talk to Dave about anything in the world.
He's cool.
I mean, we sat and I talked to him in the airport in Las Vegas this year for 25 minutes. Football came up at the end. I mean, it was just like different things. It just Dave, you want to have dinner with Dave Aranda.
Yup.
Mike Norvell.
I guess I got to put him at 6 then, don't I? I got to put him at 6. Mike Norvell, here's the other thing about Mike. I think Mike might have a little bit of Gundy in him in that I don't know how excitable and sociable he is outside of the football environment.
Right. I mean, you could ask him a lot about Florida State. But.
Yeah, I could ask, like, I would want to talk to him. Part of my thing is like, I would be like, Mike.
Let me pull you aside here.
Here's the thing. You're happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, you're happy. Like, we can have a symbiosis here. Let me just tell you. There are some things that you do that you need to stop doing. And, for example, which he didn't on defense, which I'm glad. You got to stop making buddy hires. You can't, you can make buddy hires if you're Bobby Bowden. You can make buddy hires if you're Kirby Smart. In fact, Kirby Smart's staff has got a couple buddy hires on it right now that they don't like. You can make buddy hires if you're Nick Saban. Guess what? Nick Saban didn't make a lot of buddy hires. He would just go, oh, look, Lane Kiffin's available. I'm going to hire Lane Kiffin. Steve Sarkisian, they weren't friends before that.
Right.
But, I mean, they could be buddies now, but, it wasn't I'm doing this. It's a buddy hire. His whole staff was a buddy hire, essentially, and it worked out. But then when it got to a point where you need to make some changes, even on offense, he still made a buddy hire with Gus Malzahn, which I hope works out and I think will be better. I just think that, part of me would have been could you, branch out a little bit more? But no, I would like to talk to him. I mean, I think he's a good dude. I mean, he's really got a cool story, and so, yeah, I would like to talk to him. And I wanted him to be the coach at Florida State when they hired Willie. When my friends are like, who do you like? I'm like, this dude from Memphis. If they're not going to go out and get somebody who's a huge name, if they're not going to go and, pull that in, there was all this talk about go and get Bob Stoops. Bob was even on our show, and I asked him straight up and down about it. He's like, well, I'll listen to any opportunity that comes my way. It'd be foolish not to. And it was just a way for Bob to get more money out of what he was doing. But it made it all the message boards and all that. So, yeah, I mean, I was always a big Norvell proponent. So, but, yeah, 6 right now. Now, look, if it's 13-0, he'd be 1.
Sure.
But 2-10, right now you're 6 because we've got some beef.
Well, that leaves Dabo Sweeney at 11, which feels about right.
Yeah. No, that's I would want to hang out with Dabo slightly more than Brian Kelly, just so that I could tell Dabo what I think about him. I don't have really thoughts on Brian Kelly, but I have thoughts on Dabo, and I'd be like, listen, man, Like, I used to kind of be a Dabo guy, but I liked early on. I liked the energy he brought, but then he got so, holier than thou. It's like, dude, you're a football coach.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't cured cancer. Let's stop pretending like you did. So, anyway. Well, Steven, I'm glad that we had a therapy session for you.
Yeah, it was good.
I don't know how it's going to help long-term.
I feel lighter. I feel like some things have been lifted.
Yeah, you get to say it. We saw on the way back from Dallas the other day in the airport, we saw a truck with F. Nico Harrison taped on the back window. So,
gotta make your voice heard somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure he's heard it quite a bit. I think so. If you're Nico, and I know we're going long, Garrett, do you go to a coffee shop now and wonder, is there they're spitting this, right?
Yeah, I think
or do you have to send somebody else?
He's got to be in lockdown right now.
You got to send somebody else. Because, even if, I feel bad for guys whose names are Nico, and they just don't know, and, you go to Starbucks, it's Nico, and then, well, might as well. And this guy's like, hey, man.
I'm just covering all my base.
I'm not Nico Harrison.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing is they've been, I'm sorry, I know we need to go. They've been so clueless about it. It's like they just, oh, did we make a mistake? Did we do something that people don't like?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I would have loved to hear Jason Kidd on the other end of the phone.
Oh, man.
When Nico called and goes, hey, I traded Luka to the Lakers. And you've been like, you mean for the whole franchise? Are you the owner of the Lakers now?
We got LeBron?
Are we did you kill Jeannie Buss? What did you do? No, just for Anthony Davis and Max Christie. Man. All right, that's going to do it for us today on 365 Sports. We have a lot of guests. We're running over time. Just watch it. We'll see you later.
Golfers, do you suffer from constantly buying new golf gloves?
All the time.
Does your golf glove get sweaty, crusty, or torn?
Over and over again.
Well, the innovation